We now have video footage. We now have a guilty plea. We now have a fine and an apology. But do you really feel like we have the real story about Jamaal Bowman yet?
Well, it's pretty clear Jamaal Bowman wasn't telling the truth when he issued his first excuse that he did this by accident. And the video proves that. He walks up to the door, he pushes the door, knocks down a few signs, turns to his left, pulls the fire alarm, never looks back at the door. He just continues on and walks out. He ultimately will pass multiple police officers without notifying them of what took place. It's the reason that I've called on the ethics committee to further investigate this. He received a municipal citation at the D.C. level, not a federal charge. But I think there's a lot of questions to be answered, in particular by the House Ethics Committee, in particular whether or not he was acting to delay a floor procedure. It sure looks like he was. Why was he doing that? What was his intent? Sure looks like he was trying to slow down the action on the floor at a moment in time when the Democrats were delaying a vote on the floor to try to allow the Democratic-led Senate to get their legislation done before the House. I think ultimately a further investigation is warranted.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I have to ask about the penalty. I mean, $1,000 fine. I personally know people in high school who got stiffer penalties for doing the same crime when we were in high school and they weren't prepared for a test. But I have to wonder, this almost seems like a microcosm of what we have been talking about. It seems like it's practically been the theme of this show, which is a dual tiered system of justice. Obviously, this is Congress. This is the legislative branch. But do you think if Democrats were in the majority and it was a Republican who pulled the fire alarm, if there would be the same treatment?
It raises a whole host of questions, just as you said. I mean, one, Jamaal Bowman was a principal at a school. At every school that I've ever attended, you have fire alarm drills. And so he knows exactly what happens when you pull a fire alarm. It was clearly not an accident or a technique to open up a door. The other is the Washington, D.C. Attorney General that moved forward with these charges. The federal prosecutors chose not to move forward with any charges. And I think it's pretty evident that Democrats are soft on crime. And so the Democrat decision not to charge Jamaal Bowman with a more serious crime, I think is indicative of what we're seeing play out across the country. Blue cities refusing to enforce the law in rising crime in those blue cities, Washington, D.C., Chicago, other cities across the country are suffering under Democratic policies.